I bought a pen earlier that can write underwater. And not just that, it can also write other words too. What's going on, YouTube? We have survived another week, and I hope that you also have a 3-day weekend, because we're inside the Hollow City, inside a Cold Harbor, outside the plane of existence, literally in the plane of domination. Probably not where you want to spend your Friday, unless, well, some of you definitely want to spend your Fridays there. Now, the reason we talk about Zenil is because he has luxury furnishing items here for us. Now, the beautiful thing about these furnishings is that they're exclusive. They don't come up very often, meaning that you could either buy them, throw them in your home, or if you're interested, what in the world? Is that a throne? A staircase? You could put them in your home, or you could try to resell them for a profit. Now, which of these items generally do well? I've never seen this item before, and I do a lot of these weekly vendor reviews. I don't think this is new, though, because this is... You would think that this would be old, but 100k gold's probably a little much. Some small candles for 2.5k. You could probably flip those for a bit of a profit in the future on the market. Also, a 15k Halula path marker is a decent one too. But also, I think these soul gems are kind of cool to put in little like showcase things as well. Overall, though, it's a crystal weekend. Crystals are just kind of You know, these ones turn on and off, so sometimes you might see a little bit of value for those types of crystals, but do you notice how I'm turning it on and off and the light's not very different? So other than that, got your crystals. You could probably use those for some sort of witchcraft or something inside your house. But let's go on to the second vendor. Next up, we are at the Golden Vendor inside of Cyrodiil. Now, you can find them in the Northern High Rock Gate or your starter gates. Just as a reminder, too, before we jump into them, hit the like and subscribe button. I think we're 30 subs away from our next milestone, so please subscribe. We do super fast YouTube intros. Let's see what the Golden Vendor's got for us. We start with a Fungal Grotto 1 and 2 set of gain major brutality and sorcery at all times, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 20%. So all times, you have major brutality and sorcery. And then when you kill an enemy, you gain major expedition for 8 seconds, increasing your movement speed by 30%. Now, this is a dungeon set, so it's unresellable. You can only buy it and use it on yourself. You get weapon and spell crit chance. A lot of people are actually kind of divisive on this set. And the reason for that is that people will look at this set in one of two ways. The first one is they'll look at it and say, major brutality and sorcery is not that hard to get. So why do I want a full 5-piece set to do that? The second group of people will look at this set and go, you know, major brutality and sorcery, while easy to get, I can still slap that on, and then I can get major expedition every time I kill an enemy. When it comes to XP farming builds, this is a pretty good build to use. You're killing mobs in the overworld, you're getting speed ups, you can just use, you know, having buffs that are just there all the time in major brutality and sorcery, especially if you don't have the Oaken Soul Ring, which also gives you like 50 bajillion buffs. This is a pretty good option for that. Where would I say this set is as a rating? I think its best utilization probably is some sort of overland farming set, killing things, getting speed ups, etc., etc. I would say it's like an 8.0. Not very many sets I would say are explicitly good for XP farming. Because they don't usually give you XP bonuses as well as weapon and spell damage increases. So I'd just give it a solid 8. Next up is a set from Arteron, which is basically Rift and Light when it comes to the population there. And this is a set that was actually nerfed. So does that mean it's still good? Well, it gives you weapon and spell armor. When you interrupt an enemy, you gain 516 weapon and spell damage for 15 seconds, and your bash attacks deal 516 more damage. Now, this is an overland set, so it would be resellable if you wanted to buy this with AP, sell it with gold. Probably not one that you want to do it with. Now, if you're curious what this set used to do, every time you dealt damage, I believe you had like a 10% chance to gain, I think like 300 to 400 weapon and spell damage. And that was pretty good because that's much more consistent. The problem is that when you interrupt an enemy, you gain this bonus. Now, you do get it for 15 seconds. 15 seconds is a long time. Isn't that right, fellas? Especially on the movements. Now, the problem though is that 15, you generally want to be in situations where you are in control of when you're gaining your weapon and spell damage buffs. Think Clever Alchemist. You drink a potion, you gain the bonus. Now, the problem here is that you have to basically interrupt an enemy, which might be hard for you to try to coordinate with you dropping your bursts and all your damage on a player. So this is a PvP set. I'd say you could still make some good builds out of it. So we'll give it like a 7.0, but it's really on the line of just being slightly above average / mediocre and then being actually good. It's right on the line. Next up, also a Fungal Grotto set, which is just odd to see. But when you deal damage with a martial melee attack, you deal an additional 3,140 poison damage over 4 seconds. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds and scales off your higher weapon or spell damage. Now, this set used to be the gold standard. It used to be different, unfortunately. It used to basically be one of the best PvP sets in the game, but it was unfortunately tweaked. The other thing, too, is that even in its current state, you probably might see utilization. If you took this set and you put it back at 2014, you probably would see people use it. The problem is in today's day and age, we have all sorts of goofy 5P sets that can do tons of gigafarts of damage. So when it comes to just dealing a couple poison damage over 4 seconds, yeah, that's fine, but it's not going to get really into a lot of Cyrodiil conflict because this is really probably more of a PvP set. The damage that you're doing with this is not going to be anywhere close to necessary to even compete with nerfed Pillar of Nirn. So I would say you're probably going to throw this set as like a 7.0. It's good if you build very specifically around it with a crazy high weapon and spell damage build where you're trying to put crazy amounts of dots on people. You could probably get some good benefit from it, but that's being very generous. Next up is from Malbator. It gives you armor, weapon, and spell. When you take physical damage, you deal shock damage to enemies in a 5-meter radius around you. This effect can occur once every 3 seconds and scales off your weapon or spell damage. I mean, look, so I wanted to make a video back in the day when I was making experimental YouTube videos where I would beat Maelstrom Arena by not attacking because I thought I could encourage a bunch of new players to get into the game, get into harder content. There's so many cheesy builds and things that you could do. I literally beat an arena by not attacking. Oh my god. After the first 3 arenas I gave up because I would getting through the different rounds and things, I was at like the 2-hour mark, just sitting there blocking, dealing a little tiny bit of shock damage to everything around me. I lost my mind. So long answer short or short answer long, you don't need this set. I mean, if you were doing some sort of crazy block reflect tank, it still doesn't make the cut. It's like a 6.0 set. It's above average. It's not going to hurt you if you were to use this in PvP. It does give you armor. You would be able to, confuse people as to why electricity is coming off of you. Maybe that'll spook them a little bit. So we'll give it a 6.0. You know the song that goes, I used to rule the world? That just got the video DMCA takedown. That set was Bloodspawn. If you were a tank, you wore Bloodspawn. If you were a healer, you wore Bloodspawn. If you were DPS, you wore Bloodspawn. If you were in PvP, you wore Bloodspawn. If you were in any sort of thing ever, Bloodspawn was your go-to monster set. It comes from Spindle Clutch. It is one of the best sets in the game, and it used to be the set in the game, not just one of the best staples. It used to be the set, not, oh, this is a staple for this. It was the top. Now, these days, when you take damage, you have a chance to 6% chance to generate 13 ultimate and increase your weapon and spell, your physical and spell resistance by 3601 for 5 seconds. So you have 6% chance to gain a bunch of ultimate as well as increase your physical and spell resistance, which is good. Ultimate is good. You can see why this is so helpful. Ultimate is a nice thing. How is it these days? I would say Bloodspawn is still a staple set. It has lost a lot of utility, but when you factor in the fact that this is a shoulder, you can go get the helmet easily from Veteran Spindle Clutch. You can slap those two things together, have one of the most versatile monster sets in the game. I'll just give it a 10 out of 10. It's a staple. I understand that back in the day, this was like an 11 out of 10. This was like, if you weren't wearing Bloodspawn, what sort of gimmick were you doing? And it's nowhere near where it was. But when it comes to recommending good sets to people, this is there, and this is there in spades. It's base game. It's good. It's universally good. and that's where I'm going to give it as the staple points. It may not deserve it. You can disagree with me, but I love Bloodspawn. Next up, we have a Neareneth's set. This one actually is an old set as well. Crypt of Hearts 2. Everything is a throwback set. You get weapon and spell as your one piece, and then when you deal direct damage, you have a 15% chance to summon a Lich Shard that explodes after 2 seconds, dealing 48-18 magic damage to all enemies within 4 meters. This effect can occur once every 3 seconds. So this is a set that's just doing all sorts of stuff. You're basically making crystal lich fragment shards that blow up after 2 seconds and hit enemies in a meter, or 4 meters, excuse me. So it hits them in that radius. But like, okay, as we think about sets, right? What would you put this in? Probably is something that does a lot of direct damage every second, like a Templar, just, you know, on the enemies. But even then, it's delayed, so you can't use it for PvP, because, yeah, doing 48-18 magic damage would be kind of neat to enemies if you could do it consistently, but the problem is that enemies are going to be like, a gigantic exploding Lich Crystal. Let me just move over to the right here, and then your 2-piece set did nothing but gives you a little bit of weapon and spell damage. So overall, not a good set. I always just like to have these examples of how things could be good. I would say it's like a 7. Yeah, you could probably do some good shenanigans for PvE with it, but like, don't actually buy it. Its best utilization is on a Templar for some sort of PvE farming where you're just making crystals constantly explode. It probably looks cool. So there you go. That's its best utilization. It could look cool. But everyone, thank you guys so much again for watching. As always, we're doing our 3 giveaway drawings. All you need to do to enter is leave a comments below. Just tell me anything. Which set do you think is the best, or which crystal do you think is the coolest? If you had to impress one of those witchy people that you know in the real world, which crystal do you think would impress them the most? Second thing is just make sure you're a subscriber, like 30 subscribers away from our next milestone. And the third thing is look for a hidden word be flashed up on the screen. We've already put out one of the words. Will there be a second? Probably, because I'm mentioning it. So keep an eye out for a second hidden word flashed on one of the videos. If you're the first person to find and comment it, you will win. Thank you guys one last time. Have an amazing 3-day weekend if you have one. If not, just have an amazing weekend. And if you're working, just have an amazing something. See you guys later. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.